Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Dallas Daily Show, coming at you from the passenger seat of my car this week as my oldest son, Lex, has his permit, and we are getting in the miles, getting in the reps, getting in the drive time behind the wheel. Lex, how you doing out here?
I'm doing great.
Tell everybody hello.
What's good, y'all?
What's good, you all? Today's topic, my friends, is getting back to a beginner's mind. Okay, let's get into the conversation. All right, friends, as I mentioned there in the opening, the audio is a little bit different because I am sitting in the passenger seat. Alexander, my oldest son, Lex, he's shaking his head even as I call him Alexander. We hate it when people call you that, don't we? Actually, we hate it when people say Alex.
That's horrible.
That's what?
It's horrible.
So this is Lex. He is our oldest son. He is 15 years old. He now has his permit. We are putting in the time behind the wheel, my friends. And this whole week we're going to just be talking because, of course, I've gotten a lot of lessons out of this. And so I said to him, hey, man, why don't we go get him some drive time, and I'll just record my pod while you're driving. So there may be times you hear me call out an instruction. We have no idea. This is behind the wheel at this point. But one of the things that I have enjoyed the most about this process is as I'm watching him grow as a driver and get the hours in. How many hours you got in now?
Probably at 20.
20-something hours behind the wheel now? Yeah. And you have to get to 50 before you're allowed to be with other drivers or something?
I'll
Yeah.
put 50 before I can get my license.
Oh, well, you're going to be at 50. He's got to be at 50 hours before he can get his license, but he's also got to be 16. So we'll have 100 hours under us, no problem. Give yourself a little more space there. All right, so obviously he went through driver's ed and he studied the rules of the road. Y'all remember that book. But what's been interesting is I started having him observe me drive a little bit more during this process. And I'm one hand on the wheel at this point. My focus is a little not as focused as his is, versus he's at 10 and 2. You know, he's using his blinker all the time. He's checking his blind spots, all the things, because he has a learner's mind. But what it has done for me, it has actually caused me to go back and revisit the rules of the road myself to find out places where I have slacked off a little bit or become a little lax in the way that I am doing things in my own life. And I just thought, man, there's so many places where maybe I've gotten to a little bit of what they call master's blindness, where I've got so many thousands of hours behind the wheel, way past the 10,000 hour mark. I've been driving now, holy cow, 30 years, Lex, 31 years. I'm 46 years old, so there you go. Holy cow. But there's a lot of things I take for granted and just do automatically anymore. But in order to teach him, I've had to go out of the automated thing. So you guys are probably familiar with the concept of the 4 quadrants here of, I want to say it's Ziegler, but I know I'm going to get it wrong. But basically there's 4 quadrants of learning. The low end of that quadrant, the lower left-hand corner of that box, is this idea, I think we talked about this on the pod before, is the unconscious incompetence. Meaning you don't know what you don't know. And so 5 months ago, before Lex started driver's ed, he was in total unconscious incompetence. Wasn't even paying attention to where we were necessarily going when I was driving around town. Didn't know what he didn't know. Now he is in a place of, so you go from unconscious incompetence to the next quadrant, the lower right-hand side of that box, is conscious incompetence. Meaning you now know that you don't know stuff. You're consciously aware of what you don't know. And so as he and somebody's going past us at a solid 90 miles an hour, I'm going to have you get out of this lane for this exact reason. By the way, for those of you in the St. Louis, Missouri area, you know how insane the drivers are on Highway 270. That's where we are right now. Yes, I'm taking my 15-year-old at 70 miles an hour. All right, cool. Thank you. So anyway, back to what we're saying here, folks. These are raw, everybody. So you've got the unconscious incompetence. The next level is conscious incompetence. Then you start to become consciously competent. meaning you start to know what you're doing, you're starting to pay attention, and that's really where a lot of the acceleration happens, is you begin to learn, begin to do, and begin to slowly get better and better at it. And then the final quadrant, as you move to the upper left-hand corner, is you go to unconscious competence. And that's the place where you're just doing what you know how to do. And that's where I have been for so long, is in this box of unconscious competence, where I just kind of know what I'm doing in a car, and my instincts are pretty honed, head on a swivel. And what I'm realizing now, though, is I have had to actually step back a square to say, what makes me a good driver? No points on my record, no accidents, no tickets ever. What has gotten me to that point? So I'm actually having to go from unconscious competence back to conscious competence so that I can be more of a master for him and more of a teacher and trainer for him. And I'm just wondering, where in your life might you need to go back just a step? Where in your life do you just do things automatically and you're totally unaware of them, that maybe in order to maybe lead other people, or maybe to grow your business a little bit more, or maybe to take the reins of your health a little bit more, maybe what you need to do is disengage the unconscious sides of how you operate and start to consciously aware and intentionally operate in your world in such a way that you regain the beginner's mind. You go back to the rules of the road. You go back to the basics of business. Michael Jordan once said, the minute you get away from the fundamentals, the bottom can fall out of your game at any time, whether it's in sports, in life, in business, any of it. So are you getting away from some of the fundamentals, and maybe it's time to reassess and realign and go back to the beginner's mind? All right, that's all I got from you from this passenger seat today. We're going to come at you tomorrow with a little bit more from the permit, driver's ed, and all of that. Until then, my friends, have a championship day.
Thanks for listening to my dad's podcast. For more tools, go to dallasdailyshow.com. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.